Hi and welcome back to another video of JPlay. I am Marcus and today I'm maybe doing a playthrough of Utopia, which has been kindly provided to me by Gravity Games. So thanks so much for that. And yes, of course, it also comes with a solo mode. So that's what I'm basically going to do today. The cool thing about the solo mode is it comes with very different difficulty levels. Starting with Cortez, going down all the way here to the Nazis. I already played the solo game before. That's the reason why I decided to go with the next difficulty level here. So we are facing Scarface. Oh, that's an interesting pun in my solo. That's basically our opponent. We are simulating a two-player game here, but before I get started, maybe let's have a quick look at the introduction here. You are a time baron. Where did I hear that before? And control a shadowy 26th century faction hellbent on reordering history to set off a chain reaction which will bring about your utopian vision for the world. At your disposal is a fleet of chrono ships capable of traversing all four dimensions of space and time. You will hunt through all of history to hire the brightest minds to your cause, and each will be given command of one of your precious chrono ships. However, you are not the only one with a grand vision for the future and must watch out for rivals who will attempt to meddle with your plan. This game is basically a racing game because whoever manages to complete 3 of these missions here, I think these are called butterfly effect missions here, will be the winner. And the AI is really rushing things quite a bit, so I have to be careful. I have to game the game here a little bit, and there are some good ways how to do that. Overall, artwork and the production quality of this game is amazing. I mean, just look at these stacks of poker chips. These are really just gameplay tokens. So this is a science token, basically a currency in the game. But yeah, they decided to transform these into poker chips, which I definitely do appreciate. Before I get started, and as usual, I will explain the game as I go. Let me welcome a new patron on my channel, Miles. Thank you so much for deciding to join me here. Really appreciate all your support, but that is also true for all of my other patrons and channel members out there. You guys are truly amazing. And yeah, with that being said, I have already prepared the game board. There are some, let's call it, drafting mechanics in the game, which I've already done for the AI player, which again, in this case, it's Scarface Capone. It's slightly different because he's following a very simple logic in respect of how they're getting their crew members or their starting crew members. Al Capone on his own is already considered to be one of their crew members, and these crew members all come with, let's say, their little forte. So basically what they bring to the table. So he's a cultural crew member? I don't know. And as we all start with 2 crew members, his second one was Christopher Columbus, which I believe is an explorer kind of characters. He doesn't really care about the special abilities here. He's getting all sorts of, let's say, bonus actions throughout the game. For us, they do matter, so I will definitely have a look at those. But again, for Columbus, it doesn't really matter. The AI player also starts the game with one of these so-called butterfly effect missions, and he's trying to found the Neanderthal civilization. I mean, thematically and also from a humor perspective, it's so nicely done. He's also the starting player for the first round. This can change, so he's not always the starting player, so I can actively work against that. And these are the 2 chrono ships he starts the game with. So we have the cultural run, so that's kind of a pyramid, and we have this sciencey rocket here for Christopher Columbus, who is then basically trying to found the Neanderthal civilization. Let's have a quick look at our player board over here. Again, we are not really present, so these crew members are simply crew members. So we are simply, I don't know, an entity outside of our player board here. I decided, because we do have some more choices, so we are kind of drafting from the crew members that are out there. So we have Pope Alexander VI Borgia. Very, very interesting. He's also a cultural character, and apparently he is a superstar. There were 2 TV shows actually around the Borgias, and I'm not necessarily sure if I agree to the superstar thing here, but I get the idea. So basically his special ability says when you move to recruit a time zone location, one knowledge disk that you pay to recruit a crew member can be of any knowledge type, and this is really huge. Usually for the 3rd crew member we are hiring, we have to spend 2 of these let's say tokens, but usually they also have to be of the same kind of the crew member you are trying to hire. With Alexander Borgia, or with Pope Alexander here, we are able to replace one of these discs with any of the discs, which is really relatively huge. And our second character is Sir Francis Drake. And yeah, he's also an explorer and he's a merchant. When you move to a trade time zone time zone location, you may trade up to 3 knowledge discs of any type for an equal amount of knowledge discs of any type, which is also huge. I will come to that. Usually you can only exchange 2 of the same with another 2 of the same. In this case, the trade amount has been increased, and on top of this, this can be any disc. Also very, very huge. And this is really merely a coincidence that we both, or the iPlayer and I, started with the same type of characters here. As the AI player doesn't care about these knowledge discs here, I do. So I get basically as our starting bonus here corresponding science tokens. So we have culture character, so that's a culture token, knowledge token. We have an explorer, so the same goes in here. So this is basically our starting currency, and we also have these 2 chrono ships. Up here we have our drones, which we will see most likely throughout the game. But what's really important is we are not starting the game with any of these butterfly missions. So this is something that we should work towards to relatively quickly. But as I'm not the starting player, I will hand over things to the starting player, Scarface Al Capone. So we have a deck of these villain action cards, and again, this is the basically 1 to 2 player side of the game board. So there's on the back side pretty much a very similar layout, but with some more locations. In this 1 or 2 player game, we are only playing up to 7 time zones. In a 3 to 5 player game, we were dealing with 13 time zones. So our time travels will basically end here with Victorian Britain. These villain action cards here are kind of multi-purpose, because on the back side they tell you what we need to do. On the front side, these are basically the other difficulty levels. So in here, for example, there is Genghis Khan, there is Cortez, for example. But again, we only care for the backside of these cards for this playthrough here. And it's really cleverly done. I really do like that. And I think with that being said, let's get started. The first thing that the iPlayer does is to discard the topmost card, and I can show you what this is. Green Rana Valona. So we are discarding this card because only now do we know what the iPlayer is going to do. So basically we have 2 kind of information. This one here tells us which, let's say, action or where he is sending his chrono ship, because that's what you have to do as part of your turn. And this is layout here. So we have the time travel phase, so we have to send our chrono ships. Then we could trigger technologies, then we are triggering our benefits, and then we could go for a mission or completing a mission. That is, it works slightly differently for the iPlayer, but for the solo player, that's basically what you have to follow. And second of all, we have a time zone identifier. This is time zone 0, which is, you see that over here is the mission control room, basically the moon. This is where we are usually getting our missions from. So if something tells us where you need to start, this is the number where you are starting to check if something is possible or available for Al Capone here. So we are going to do for the bottom action basically. And when you look at the solo action table here, you see that bottom tells move to the time zone location matching the bottom knowledge requirement on the mission card on the villain's mothership. We are always going for the leftmost available one for him. It is a pity that we have to consult the rulebook here so that there are no player aids. There's really a whole pile of player aids in the game, but unfortunately nothing really for the solo mode. So if I will play this more often, I will certainly create my own. Maybe there is something on the Geek which I have I've missed or so, but for now this will make do. So again, we are checking the bottom requirement of his leftmost available mission card here, which again is found the Neanderthal civilization. And the bottom one basically says he's going for a technology. So normally as a player you would then have to discard a conversational, I think, technology that is. So you really have to get rid of it. For him, for the iPlayer, not so much. It simply tells you where to place his chrono ship. For his first deployment in a given round, he's always starting with the chrono ship from his leader here, which would be the cultural one. It doesn't really matter too much for him again, but because he's going to pretty much develop a technology in order to do that, he will, with this action, always go to the science time zone location here, which is time zone 7, so to Victorian Britain. And we see we have the motor vehicle here. Right now he doesn't really care about this one, but he might. I have to check what he is doing next. So first of all, he was able to place his chrono ship onto an available time zone location. And again, for this particular bottom action, he will always go to the science one. If this space would have been blocked, this would have been considered an unsuccessful action or an unsuccessful attempt. Unfortunately, because he was the starting player, he was able to go. Then that's one of the reasons why, if you want to game the game a little bit, you can somewhat, to some extent, predict where he might be going to, and you can start blocking the iPlayer off. At the start of the game, very difficult, but the later you come, the more options you will have in order to do so. So basically, he is sending his chrono ship in here. He's never going to take the action. There are some exceptions to that, but for now, it's simply considered to be a successful attempt or a successful action, because again, he was able to place his chrono ship legally, which means he is allowed to move his little drone tracker down here one space, and when this drone makes it down here to this space, we are resetting the track, but this means he has then successfully completed his mission. So yeah, the more opportunities we give Al Capone here to successfully move down, the easier it will be for him to win the game. So we are moving down here because it was successful. We are also triggering the bonus action here, which in this case is a radar bonus action. There's a lot of text, but ultimately it's super easy actually. In this case, we simply have to check the lastmost entry here. If there are no player tags in time zones 0 to 7 on the game board, the raid fails. Because he was starting player, I didn't have any chances whatsoever developing any technology. So at least we didn't give him the satisfaction of stealing any technology from us. So that's basically the end of his action. And that's something I do enjoy as usual, having a very straightforward, easy to follow solo mode. Really nicely done. Again, there were some minor, very minor ambiguities, I think, into one of these actions, but apart from that, it's really crystal clear. So now it's basically back to us. And keep in mind, because we have our superstar here, we might want to consider planning to go for another crew member, because with another crew member we would then also unlock another chrono ship and ultimately increasing our options and also our action economy. And that's quite crucial in this game. I mean, it's the same for each of these worker placement games, right? The problem is, with these two discs, we would, in theory, yes, we would be able to go for another crew member, but the problem is we can only replace one. Again, you have to, if we want to hire a science crew member, we need science disc, usually 2 for our third crew member, but of course of Pope Alexander VI of Borgia, 1 would be enough. But yeah, either of those wouldn't really help us. We can replace something, then we don't have to pay anything, but again, we want more crew members out. So first of all, we may need to send, for example, Francis Drake out there. On the other hand, because the mission control room is now available, we can also consider claiming our very first mission and actually defeat the horse lords down here. Would be quite an okay mission for us, because it requires 2 of these exploration tokens and send 2 of these war or combat tokens. These are a little bit tougher to get, but I still think we want to prep our game here a little bit. So we need more crew members, we need more chrono ships, we need more actions ultimately. And looking at the available crew members here, down here, Robespierre seems to be very interesting to us, because I know for a fact he is going to... Who does he actually? Is he going to develop tech? I need to check that actually. But again, Robespierre basically allows you as a raider to use technology of other players, which is rather huge actually. So this could be beneficial. And by the way, we have 2 kinds of, let's say, these cards out here. We have crew members and we have technologies, as you could tell. So technology is something that you would develop. You slide it under the location. Whenever someone is using that, you are allowed to trigger basically or gain something out of this, some more resources, which also helps you to increase your action efficiency, your economy. But I still think I want more workers first, and this is really great. In order to hire Robespierre, we would need 2 of these flag symbols. I don't quite remember what those are, and it's politics actually. So I think let's do that. So we are sending our explorer, Sir Francis Drake, down here to this space. These resource spaces are very easy. When you go there, you are simply taking the corresponding knowledge token. In this case, it's one of these politics token. If you send someone in here, one of your workers, one of your explorers, or one of your crew members that have the same primary ability, let's say I would send a politician to this space, I would have gained 2 of those. But for now, I think this one is sufficient. We are placing it onto our player board, and in theory, we could trigger our secondary ability, but that's not going to happen because there's nothing to gain here. So we are basically calling our turn done. And I promise you, things will speed up as of the 2nd round or so. Right now, I still have to explain you some of these stuff. So it's over to Al Capone. We are discarding the topmost card. What is it? The NEP. It's not the web, it's the NEP. Okay. I see. So now he's going for the top requirement of his leftmost butterfly effect mission card, which is a cultural space. He still has a chrono ship left, that's 6 explorer. Unfortunately, the space is also available, which means this is another successful mission for him. So he's allowed to move his drone 1 space further down. That's pretty brutal actually. 3 more and he will start again. He only also needs to complete 3 of these missions and then you have immediately 1. But in this case, he's trying to develop a communications technology, and in order to determine the technology he's going to develop, we are looking at the action card here again. He will start to look for the corresponding technology as of time zone 4. If there is nothing in time zone 4, he will simply continue in a clockwise fashion. And if there wouldn't be any of these matching technologies on the board, then it would be considered a failed bonus mission. But unfortunately, we have the perfect technology here in Viking Iceland, the Icelandic Saga. So it's a tech, you see that here, and it's a communication technology. Again, if there wouldn't be one, we would simply search further down the line. But again, it is available. So what we do next now, we take the card, we are sliding it down here. We are using one of his remaining drone tokens here. Keep in mind, for him, it's a little bit limited, let's put it like this, because he only has 3 drones left. 1 drone he is using for his action tracker here. And when he's out of these drones, he's usually out when they're out on technology, because he's never spending those. He doesn't gain anything for those because he doesn't care about knowledge tokens. But what this actually means is when we go to this location now, either here or there, we would then have to pay the corresponding technology or knowledge token to the supply. Normally, in a multiplayer game, the player would gain it from the supply, so you wouldn't have to pay for that. In a solo mode, it works slightly differently. But because we are going to claim Maximilien Robespierre, I think we can send him here then, and then we would gain this technology, either of those, into our supply. So I think this was a pretty solid decision for us, and now it's really over to us, and I guess we are going to claim Robespierre. So we are sending it here to the recruit space respectively. So those 2 spaces are now gone, and the cool thing is we have the resources in order to hire Robespierre. First of all, again, because it's our 3rd crew member, we would have to spend 2 tokens of the politics kind here. Exactly. We have one of those. We have made sure we are getting this, but because we have sent Alexander the Sixth here, when you move to a recruit time zone location, one knowledge is that you pay to recruit a crew member, can be of any knowledge type. And this is huge. In this case, I think we are going for the cultural run, because maybe we get use out of, maybe we can still claim the defeat the horse lords, and I think we will be able to do that. So we are spending our 2 tokens here, and this allows us to recruit Maximilien Robespierre. We are placing it onto our player board here. We are unlocking our chrono ship right off the bat, and this also means we get to take the action directly from that. So we don't have to wait for the next round to come. So we have one more action to go. The AI is already out of chrono ships, which is quite unusual actually. For our third action this round, I think we are going to send Robespierre to the moon. Think about that, right? And overall, this all reminds me a little bit of Bill and Ted to some extent, and this was also one of the main reasons actually why I was intrigued when James was reaching out to me, the designer, and asked me, hey, would you be interested in doing this video for us, for example. I looked at the components, I looked at the stuff, I looked at the artwork, and then, man, this is Bill and Ted. I mean, you're collecting all these folks, you're bringing them in your chrono. I mean, this could be a telephone booth after all, right? Would be a nice touch actually, but yeah, I think you get the idea. So we have placed Robespierre onto the moon, and we are getting to pick one of the available missions here. I think you can also wipe them and then draw from the new one, but in this case I think I'm quite okay to go with this one here, defeat the horse lords, because we have a good chance of getting those exploration tokens, and maybe other military ones might be a little bit problematic, but because we have Sir Francis Drake, we get to trade very effectively. So I think we should be in an okay shape. So yeah, let's grab those horse lords here. Everything else will slide down. We are revealing a new mission, and yeah, we are building a great wall. Well, that's something that we could do actually. So let's place that here. So at least we have now a goal to work towards too. Nicely done. But that's basically the end of the round. So in theory, we would now check if any crew members would have been sent to limbo. So there is an assassination action, which I think he is going to take sooner or later, and we might have to take it because it also gives you the starting player token. That was something I kind of considered doing, but for now I still think getting a mission might be the more important thing to do. We are removing the bottommost mission here, start the Industrial Revolution. We are putting it basically on the bottom of the deck, so in theory it could come back, not in a solo mode, believe me. We are revealing a new one, so we have to invade England. I mean, look at the artwork. This is so nice, and I think this is Sleipnir, right? The 8-legged horse, if I could be incorrect. So, but there is this one Manowar song actually, which kind of taught me some Viking mythology, I guess. But yeah, apart from that, I also have to cycle all those cards, so they go to the bottom of their respective deck, but I will definitely do that off camera. Then we will send all those chrono ship back home, and then we are about to start our next round. Okay, this is the new display. So we could invent the wheel, we could meet Aristotle, we could build the steam locomotive, the printing press, or we could meet Eric the Red. Again, highly thematic stuff. Unfortunately, Al Capone is still the starting player. So let's discard the next topmost card, the Inquisition. Yeah, okay, nobody expect the Spanish Inquisition. So in this case, he is basically claiming another mission, and he's also blocking the space respectively. So now I'm really thankful I claimed the mission, because otherwise that space is kind of gone for me. This would have also forced my hand a little bit to assassinate him, which also is not a bad thing because we get resources for that at the end of the round. But yeah, in this case, he's sending Al Capone to the mission control room here. I think from this action, he's always going to take the topmost action. So he is going to invade England actually. We are revealing, okay, we can explore Antarctica. And again, this was a successful mission. That's kind of the bummer that I'm last basically, or the second player. So we're moving down here, 2 more spaces to go. And for his bonus action, he's going to require a crew member starting from time zone 6. Time zone 6 is a technology, so we are moving further clockwise order. So Marie Scalottos or Maricori, basically. And he can hire her, so he always goes for a crew member that he doesn't have, of the type he doesn't have. So we are taking Marie Curie. Emmeline Pankhurst is revealed, but similarly to us, he is placing his new crew member here. He is immediately unlocking his next chrono ship, which he can directly use. Okay, then it's back to us. Knowing his pile of cards a little bit, I know sooner or later he will go to either of those spaces here, either assassinate or going for a trade space. I could go to the trade space because it could benefit me, but right now not so much, because again, if I send Francis Drake there, I am allowed to exchange 3 tokens for any 3 tokens. I only have 1, so I could still go there 1 for 1, that's nice, but I think that's not our best bet right now. So maybe I'm rather considering to send one of those guys to their corresponding action spaces, simply to gain as many tokens as possible. And I think getting another crew member out doesn't work anyway right now. Yeah, that's definitely something to consider. In this case, I think it doesn't matter too much, other than maybe this one here, but yeah, right now we would gain something out of this. So it would still not be too bad, actually, sending Robespierre to the Viking Iceland age, but we could gain the 2 things anyway. So let's start with Pope Alexander VI, and we are going to send him to the Renaissance Italy, 1492. Because we are sending him here to the matching technology space, we are getting 2 of the tokens instead of 1. We are placing them on the player board, and I think there is no limit what you can hold, and in theory those knowledges are also not limited, but that's really not a problem in a solo game. Back to Scarface, Al Capone. We are discarding the Triffids. Okay, let's do that. And again, he's going to the top space, which is the cultural space. I was lucky and I didn't really think about it, but these top bottom things are relatively common in his pile of cards. So again, he would send his next chrono ship, which would be the Scientist, but again, it doesn't really matter too much, to this space. Because this space is blocked, he cannot go there, which means he moves to the next space in a clockwise fashion. So he's blocking this space. He doesn't trigger it. We are not moving his drone down. So this was the first time we were actually working against Scarface here. Of course, he's blocking our space now. And yeah, we still have, this would have been my next action, sending Robespierre here to this space actually. Gaining 2 more of these politics tokens, but I think I am okay with that. But ultimately, this means I think I am going to send Robespierre onto this space here, because he's owning the one technology down here. Normally, I would have to pay now 1 of these to the supply. Because we are sending Robespierre there, we are allowed to gain the trigger tech free knowledge disk rather than the owning player. And I think in the solo mode it simply means I don't have to pay to the bank, I get it from the bank. That is my understanding. And looking at the communication technology down here in Iceland, it was the Icelandic Saga. I get to either pick cultural or the flag. I think it doesn't matter either way actually, so we could go for either. That doesn't really matter. Let's go for another cultural one, but of course we are also getting the technology from the space we have unlocked here. So overall we created 2 tokens out of this. I still think this worked out for us. Nice. Back to Al Capone, we are discarding the top Vlad the Impaler. Okay, it's Dracula is here. I think I have to play against Dracula at some point in time. Oh, again he's going to advance his mission, which is a communication tag. Yeah, unfortunately, the space is still available here because it is a tag. So he's sending Christopher Columbus down here. Now it is considered a successful mission, which means we are moving 1 step down, 1 more to go. And because this was a murderer action, we are checking the action card here again, and we would send our chrono ship to limbo that corresponds to the position on our player board. So 1 to 5 basically. The thing is, there is nothing mentioned in respect to 0, so I think this was also a failed bonus action. James, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think this is simply missed out. If the ship would have been already in limbo, for example, we would have dodged that as well anyway, or we wouldn't have that ship. But in this case, I believe 0 simply means 0. Then it is our last action, and I'm now really tempted to either assassinate a chrono ship of Al Capone, sending it here to the assassination space, which would be quite nice actually, but it's not so great, I believe, because I'm not gaining the knowledge disk I need actually. If I kill this chrono ship up here, as my bonus, I'm not just getting starting play, I can also claim another mission there, which again isn't the worst thing in the world. That's now, or should we simply work towards our next mission? I'm not really fancying those missions up here too much actually, because they all require you to abandon a technology. So here a communications technology, and here I think these are transport technologies from what I can, yeah, it's a transport technology, exactly. So that is, these are really not great. So, but I still could trigger the action, discard those cards, draw something new and hope for something good. I mean, bringing out 3 more cards should be possible, and then I would be starting player and I could somehow try to prevent. Yeah, let's do that actually. Let's do that. So we are going to assassinate someone. We are sending, who was it? Sir Francis Drake. I mean, yeah, he was kind of a, not a pirate, mine. What do you mean? I think it's a privateer or so. Basically assassinating one of the chrono ships of our airplane. In this case, again, I want to have access to this space here. This chrono ship, it's Al Capone himself, is sent to the limbo. He will get it back at the end of the round, but we will get something in return for that. We will also claim the starting player token for the next round. I think this is rather huge, but on top of this, we also get to place one of our drones in here as a placeholder, and this drone will now trigger the action here respectively. And again, on this moon, the mission control room, we can claim another mission, which I think might be important. So again, one option is to simply pick one of those. Another option is to wipe the display, put them under the pile, and then we are going to draw 3 more. What do we have here? Establish the Roman Empire. This is great actually. Then found a new religion. I mean, come on. How often can you do that? And here we have defeat the imperial powers in Africa. Is that around Shaka Zulu maybe? Could be wrong, sorry, I could be really wrong. If so, I'm really an idiot. Apologies for that. So, which one do I get to claim? The bottommost one is the one where we don't have to abandon the technology. So, but again, we need technology. So with these 2 missions out, we might want to consider claiming some more military leader actually, because yeah, this could really help us. So this was kind of unlucky, but again, I don't want to first create 2 science tokens in order to develop technology and then simply to abandon it to complete our mission here, right? So you have to actively abandon that technology. So I think let's do that. So we are going to claim this mission here. We are trying to establish the Roman Empire. Everything else will slide down here, and the new mission is launch the Crusades. I think this might have been the better one actually, because there we only need 2 of these military tokens, but 4 of the politics one. And again, we have a politician with us. Okay, it's the end of the round, and the first thing that we do is we are reclaiming our lost chrono ships. Again, you're never out, you're never losing those, they're simply sent to limbo. I would have to pay in order to get this back, but in the solo setup, solo scenario here, we get the corresponding technology. And because he was a cultural leader, we are claiming another cultural knowledge disk, which we are placing onto our playboard. We are now at 4 of those, which, oh, this is actually quite good. But then we are sending those cruise ships basically back home to their corresponding locations. We are also cycling the cards and the missions. So it seems we are not founding new religion anytime soon, because it goes to the bottom of the stack. And design the Taj Mahal. I mean, that's at least something constructive. I take that. My drone ship also goes back. All of the other ships go back. And again, I will cycle the cards now off camera, and then we are starting the next round. I am the starting player, and because I know there is now a good chance that we might be seeing a trade action, unless the trade action is on the back of Al Capone. So let me check that. No, it isn't. Okay, I think this is important to know, and we are allowed to look, right? So I think, again, there is a good chance that he is going to send someone to the trade action now next. And again, I need to delay his actions as much as possible. So I think we are going to send Sir Francis Drake onto the trade action space here. We are not dealing with Confucius right now, but again, Francis Drake allows us to exchange any 3 for any other 3. In this case, I think it doesn't matter too much, so we are going to spend 3 of our cultural tokens and exchanging those for 3 of these war tokens, because again, we need them in theory for both. We need 1 more war token in order to either defeat the horse lord. I think we can only defeat the horse lord because we are only down, or we are down to only 1 of these cultures. So this will be the first one. We can claim them or complete them in any order we see fit. But that's basically the end of our action. Let's move over to the player. And no, it's not. It's the bottom one, which, yeah, I think, okay. And we have discarded Genghis Khan. I think this is one of the really difficult ones, actually. So he is going to do the bottommost, which we know already is a communications tech. But again, for all his tech requirements, he's sending something here to the science base. Unfortunately, it was available. And yeah, for his bonus action, he's simply completing his leftmost card in here. So we are flipping this over. So he has 1 out of 3 victory points. We are resetting his drone here, so he again will move down. And again, I totally do appreciate how easy and straightforward that is. And I believe that's basically the end of his action. No, it's not, because he will also always claim a new mission when he is completing one. I think here we have some logic, actually. And indeed, the villain then selects a new mission. The villain prefers to select the topmost face-up mission card in mission control that has a knowledge requirement matching their primary ability, e.g. Cortez is an explorer, so prefers exploration. So we have a cultural one, and indeed it's the Taj Mahal. This is a cultural one, so we are placing his final mission onto his player board. He will still go to mission control to block the spaces or whatnot, but that's basically it for him. He will never discard those missions. And yeah, we can paint the Mona Lisa. Oh man, this is so cool. I love this. So thematic. But that's basically the end of his turn now for good. So we want to make sure we are going to complete a mission, right? So we have to send Alexander VI to this war space here. Unfortunately, there's nothing really to gain other than the war knowledge token, but that's the 4th one, which again is then enough to complete this mission here. And the good thing is I kind of planned ahead. We also have to have a ship in time zone 2 when we are going to complete it. So we have placed our time shift, we have triggered our abilities, which was this one here. Next we are completing 1 mission, and you can only ever complete 1 mission per turn. So again, we will have to discard 4 war tokens. We will discard our 2 exploration tokens. So we have successfully defeated Khal Drogo, it seems. We have a ship in time zone 2. So we have a ripple effect now. That's also a very cool mechanic in this game. So we are moving our ship now to, I think it's an alternate time zone, because we have messed with history. Yeah, through the butterfly mission, things are changing. Now, this never happens for the AI player, it only happens for actual human players in this case. So we are going to activate alternate time zone 2B, which is this one here, and we have some reading to do, and now I think I will do that. The Kurgan horse lords have come from the Volgan steppes in the east to impose their militaristic, male-dominated kingdom on the peaceful Mother Earth, worshipping societies of all Europe. What do you do? use your ion cannons to destroy the Kurgans, but make it look like a storm so the Europeans will continue to believe in their goddess. Or, now we get to choose. These things are double-sided. We get to choose now, basically. Or you save the 1,000 old Europeans from the Kurgan onslaught as you require human subjects for your Atlantis experiment. You modify the DNA to give them gills and webbing and build them to a new home underwater. This now depends a little bit which icons we are interested in, but I think we are going to do that because we still have to establish the Roman Empire and therefore we need a military power. So we are claiming this, or we are spawning this alternate time zone onto the corresponding space here on the board. We are moving the ship. Which ship was it actually? Is it the ship that we have sent into the time zone 2? I think so, right? Yes, indeed, it was the drone that is in the corresponding time zone. So we are moving it down here. We are also placing a drone down here. Now we get to trigger this action here twice because of the drone, which means we are claiming 2 more military power. And I might want to consider spending those for a military leader if we get one. That's then really the next question to ask. But wow, this was really a very, very strong move for us. And keep in mind, these alternate time zones are safe for us. So the AI player can never assassinate us here, for example. And I think also not from the murderer effect, from what I could tell. So these time zones are safe. And again, they always give you at least double of those things that you're triggering. If I would be sending a military leader here, we are basically 2 times 2. We would gain 4 military tokens out of this. So this is really huge. And that's really one reason why I want to consider getting a military leader. But again, right now, there is no military leader out here. Back to the AI, we are discarding Hernan Cortés, and now he's going to the trade space, and now we have, oh gosh, we have moved away from it. So we are moving his scientists up here. Again, this was a successful mission, which means we are moving his drone down respectively, but we still don't have any technology out at this point in time, so we are not losing it. So yeah, he is progressing in respect to his mission, but at least he was not gaining something else out of this. I take that. We still have one more action left, and it's the wrong one. I really was sure we are not going to need Alexander VI, because again, he could have given me a leader cheap, but again, no, there is no military leader out anyway, so I think it doesn't really matter too much. So what next? Yeah, we need more exploration. Fortunately, Robespierre is a politician, right? I would love to get some more science now, because with science we can develop technology, and sooner or later we need that. So again, we could consider to kill someone of his things. So maybe again Al Capone himself, or we could simply go for the politics space, because with our exchange power given by Francis Drake, I think this is the better deal, right? Yeah, we were simply going for 2 more flags actually. I think let's simply do that. That's basically our round done, but this also means, yeah, I'm relatively certain what will happen exactly. He's going to assassinate. Yeah, that was clear, quite honestly, and yeah, that's bad. I should have thought about this. So he's going to assassinate. That's one of the few, let's say, main action that he's actually going to take, other than claiming a mission. In this case, he is really actively assassinating someone. And in theory, he could assassinate twice if there would be a bonus action on his board, but there is not. Luckily, to some extent, let's put it like this. In order to find out who he's going to assassinate, we are checking his action card here. Again, he's starting from time zone 0. Nothing on 0, nothing on 1, nothing on 2, but yeah, he is definitely going for someone from us. So we are killing, yeah, Alexander VI. What do you think about that? He's not gaining anything for that. We are simply losing something for that at the end of the round. If we want to, we can opt to leave him there if we can't pay or don't want to pay, but I think we need our workers for sure. But it was still a successful mission, which means he is claiming the next communication technology. Again, starting from time zone 0. But before we do, we also have to place a drone in here. And if he would have been out of drones, he wouldn't have been able to assassinate me. So that's something, as soon as he builds more and more technologies, it's more and more unlikely he's going to kill someone from us, which I think is a pretty solid balancing mechanic to some extent. The problem is he has the murder action. For the murder action, he never needs an actual drone for that. But anyway, he's going to invent the telephone, it seems. So we are claiming the tech, we are moving it down, and again, if he would have been out now of this as well, he wouldn't have been able to develop that technology, but in this case he is able to do that. And we have revealed Ernest Shackleton. The problem is he is also claiming the bonus action, and because he's successfully assassinated, he immediately gets an additional turn. That's the real mean thing about this one. But of course, dodged the bullet here. He's out of chronoship, which means he's not going to take another turn, but he still has taken the starting player token away from us. In order to reclaim that chronoship up here, it's a cultural one. We have to either spend one of the matching knowledge discs or two of any. We have one cultural one, so we are bringing it back to the supply, so we are allowed to reclaiming our chronoship here. All the others will come home again. All these technology things, they stay where they are. So this one here, for example, will also stay. It's kind of a technology to some extent, but the ones that we have used for any assassinations and whatnot, they're the drones, that is, they're also moving back to their player boards. I will basically reset the board for the next round. But yeah, that's basically a couple of rounds of Utopia with a solo mode. I will definitely continue my playthrough, and I think I should be able to finish this with my next video one way or the other. Again, he needs one more step to claim his second mission. I'm not too far away from my second mission. Actually, I think I forgot to flip my mission card here over. But before we get there, we need to claim another mission. I think this needs to be the first thing we are doing. But he's really rushing things, as you can see, which is again all the more reason that we have to, strategically block some of the locations where I think he might be going to next, for example. And with that being said, hope to see you soon in one of my next videos, maybe the last final episode of Utopia here. And yeah, until then, bye bye.